welcome to my Amy and Littles page. Today we're going to be talking about what I'm going to be using as an elective for this upcoming homeschool year. I'm Amy, I'm a homeschooling mom. I'm going to have 2 first graders and a pre-K toddler in the mix. And one of our electives this year is going to be character development / social emotional learning / home economics. We did this last year. We did social emotional learning. So I did a curriculum we found on Teacher Pay Teachers, and that was great. And then we also did character development, and we really loved that. And we incorporated that once a week into our lessons. And it's really important to me to kind of work on character development with my kids, giving them real life examples of how to work on character and how to just be a good, outstanding human. And also just being Christ-like. It's just really important to us to just raise kids that have good character and know how to treat people well, how to be kind, but also we want to add in home economics to kind of teach our kids how to be a little bit independent, how to one day grow up and be able to cook and clean and take care of a home. And also I plan on doing the same for my son also. He's just a little too young to jump into a curriculum and kind of grasp it, but definitely we'll be doing that with him in the future. So that way he can grow up and be able to help contribute to the household as well. So, and also I just want to say, if you hear chirping, our fire alarm has been chirping for the past few days because our ceiling is so high and the battery needs to be changed. And my husband has just been working so much and we have not had a chance to replace it. So if you hear that in the background, that is what's going on. But let's get into what we're going to be using this year. So last year we used the preK character development visuals with the teacher guide. And this is such a thin little book and it comes with all these sheets in here. Now y'all, mine is kind of ratchet because I've just ripped it out. What I do plan on doing with these sheets though is laminating it because I feel like you can always use this. You can always teach your kids about character traits and, you know, how to be thoughtful, how to be kind, how to not be selfish. So I do plan on laminating that. That is on my homeschool to-do list, but it comes with all these sheets in here. And what I just did each time we did a lesson is I would just, as you can see, they're coming out. This is what it would look like. All the sheets were in here and I would just rip it out each lesson. And we didn't get through some of them. So what we're going to do for this upcoming school year is just start with where we left off, and then we're just going to recycle through because I just feel like this is something to keep going over for the next few years, you know, as they're growing and learning and just learning how to be little humans. It's from christianbook.com. I have what I can linked in my Amazon storefront or in my Shop My if you want to check these out. I really liked this. This is a preK and it's very traditional. There's a verse. It's very like matter of fact and it's very old school traditional. And I actually grew up homeschooled doing a preK, so I'm very used to the old school way of how they talk. We loved doing this, and I'll turn the camera around and do a little flip through of everything, but I really like this. You have the pictures. You're gonna have 2 visuals for every lesson. So you're either gonna have a visual of what you should want to be like and what you don't want to be like, or 2 that are positive. For example, this one is dependable and this one is dependable. It's 2 examples of being dependable, of it being 2 things you wouldn't wanna do. You're gonna have polite and impolite. And in your lesson, there's going to be a verse that goes along with the lesson. And then for each visual, there's going to be kind of a little blurb you can read to your kids and some questions you can ask about the picture. And then on the other side, there's what you can talk about for the other picture. And so this is just really simple. It did not take us long. It would take us less than 5 minutes to kind of go through this, which is why I incorporated it with our other social emotional learning curriculum. And this would be good just as is to drive the point home, but I just like incorporating and adding in more things. The next thing we're using is Quiet Art Series Lessons and Responsibilities for Girls. This is for ages 6 and up. This is level 1. There are 3 levels, and I believe the 3rd level is 10 and up, or it could be older, but I do plan on using this throughout. This is a faith-based curriculum. It is home economics for homeschoolers. Again, this is a very old school, very traditional. I took home economics when I was in middle school and in high school, and I loved it. And it was, you know, in public school, but it was very traditional, very old school, and I did like it. And I feel like that is why I love like cooking and, you know, keeping a home and doing all those things, and just honestly love cooking because I remember taking the classes and enjoying it. And my girls are always asking how they can help in the kitchen, and they always want to help like vacuum and do stuff. They don't want to clean their room and pick up their toys, but they want to vacuum and mop the floors and cook. So I'm like, you know what? Let's do a whole elective on working on that. And so I found this curriculum. It is, like I said, very old school. This is by Anne White, a great grandmother, homemaker for 65 years. And when was this published? This is from 2002, but I think before that, it might have been around before that. But I love this. There are 30 weeks worth of lessons that you can do, and it goes over things from like learning to peel vegetables, using the toaster, cooking with eggs, using the stove, learning about salads, cooking your first hot meal, garnishing the oven, following directions, coating like food and meat, pastry cutter, rolling pin, sifting, baking and cooking a meal, learning to use a grater, using a vacuum, learning to dust, how to sweep properly, wash dishes, make your bed. There's sewing, so learning to stitch backwards and forwards, cutting a pattern, sewing on applique, organizing, like what is organization, how to organize a closet, organizing a bookshelf, and then hospitality. And I just love all these things because I love hosting. I love organizing things. And so hopefully this will develop a love for doing all those things. And it's just one lesson a week. We're going to do this every Wednesday. We do health. Tuesday we do art. And then Wednesday will be our social emotional character development / home ec day, and kind of combine all of these. And I think a whole lesson with all of these will probably be 30 minutes. If we're cooking and doing stuff, it might be longer. But as far as like me teaching and going over concepts, it's going to be less than 30 minutes. And again, I'll do a flip through showing you what is exactly in this book. They also do have this book for boys. I believe there's 2 books for boys, and it might start ages 6 and up as well. And I haven't grabbed that one because my son is 3, but in the future, I'll definitely consider getting it to kind of see if he can have a curriculum that could go along with the girls. This last thing that I have is from Clever Fox Play. They actually reached out about sending this to me months ago, and I had had my eye on this honestly since last year, so I was really excited to get this in my hands. But this is the Who, What, Why conversation cards, and I have the mega pack. They sell these individually, but there's 4 themes and topics. So you have cards that are going to focus on social skills, cards that are going to focus on diversity, inclusion, feelings and emotions, and safety and emergency. Get a pack that focuses on each of these topics, or you can get the mega pack that is going to have all 4 of these in here, and that is the one that I have. And these cards are so cute. To help kids build essential life skills they need to grow with the Who, What, Why mega pack. This expanded collection includes 120 conversation cards across 4 important categories, which I just said: logic and social intelligence, cultural inclusion and diversity, emergency and safety situations, and feelings and emotions. And so these cards are going to enhance critical thinking, problem solving, empathy, observation skills, communication skills, and social emotional intelligence. And I love that it just comes in this compact little box. So this is what it looks like when it opens up. And the user instructions are basically saying, start by explaining that each card shows a picture with a story or a scenario to interpretate. Encourage the children to carefully look at the image and ask, what is happening here, or what should this character do? Let them share their ideas, notice details, and explain their reasoning. You can use the guided questions on the back of the card or create your own depending on the topic. Encourage the child to imagine what might happen before and after the scene, and guide them to reflect on how it connects to their own experiences. Let the conversation flow naturally. There are no right or wrong answers, only opportunities to learn and grow. These cards are a powerful tool for developing critical thinking, empathy, communication, problem-solving skills while keeping playtime fun and interactive. And I'm so excited to use this because I think it's going to cultivate such great conversations with my kids, but it's also going to give me an idea of like where their mind is at. Before I go into explaining the card, I want to know in a scenario, if they were to face something similar, what would they do? What would their first reaction be? And kind of know how to assess the situation and how to help point them in the right direction. So I'm super excited about that. Each color is a different category. So green is diversity and inclusion, orange is social skills, purple is feelings and emotions, and red is safety and emergency. And like I said, there's just a picture of something going on and you can just talk about it. And then on the back, there's some points that you can read to your child, but then also ask some questions. And I think that we're going to do this weekly, like I said, every Wednesday, and probably going to pull like 2 to 3 of these and start our lesson off just going over these and then just move it to the bottom of the pile. And this is something we can just keep going through for a long time to come because, you know, you can always work on these things with your kids. Turn the camera on and do a little flip through so you can see each item and what it all consists of. So here's the Abeka character development visuals. Here are the character traits you're going to go over: self-control, attentive, obedient, polite, patient, unselfish, all the way down to helpful. So there are 19 character traits, 19 lessons. Just a little teaching tip for the parents. Steps to teaching the character lesson, and then you jump right into the lessons. Into lesson 1, this one's on self-control. There's a verse, and then this would be self-control. This one would be poor self-control. And so then you just hold up the card, and then this is what you would read to your kid. Sometimes my kids would like ask questions, and we'd talk about what they see. use examples of how we can show, you know, good self-control. And then here would be poor self-control, and you talk about it. And then I'd also ask my kids, like, what are things that you do that might show poor self-control, and just like have an open dialogue about it all. And it's going to be that way for every single lesson, as you can see. So very simple. And then in the back, here is what it looks like. It all comes attached, but I just end up ripping them out. So like kind, this is an example of being kind. So in your lesson, you're either going to have an example of what to do, what not to do, or you're going to have 2 examples of doing the right thing. So this one is kind, kind, gentle, and gentle. And so these are just like what some of the cards look like. Again, I need to laminate them. But yeah, so it's just a visual that you're able to just have and show to your kid as you go over it. But I definitely think laminating this will help it last a while and just be a little bit sturdier in lessons. Okay, next we have our lessons and responsibilities for girls. So like I said, there are 30 lessons. Well, technically, I guess 29, because 1 week is just review. But these are all the topics you're going to go over. So it has a sheet before each lesson. I feel like this could be a great way to like make a copy and have a coloring sheet while you teach the lesson. But week 1 is on nutrition. Like I said, this is a little bit old school. So some of the wording and some of it that I looked at, I was like, that's a little bit harsh. But this is nutrition. And again, it is faith-based. So, you know, it's saying, remember that your body is God's temple. We must take good care of it. And then it's just going to give an example of nutrition and a task you can do. And then another picture. Week 2 is peeling properly. And I think this would be a great way to have the kids like peel vegetables and cut. And it's kind of like that all the way through. So it's just a practical little lesson, I think, with a girl named Faith. And then if it's cooking, it's going to have a recipe you can do, and etc. So it is like that all the way through. Just very simple, but very sweet. And I think we're going to love doing this. And you're going to review level 1. Kind of just, it's going to ask questions about everything we went over. And I feel like that's a great way to see if the girls retained everything. And then this is Ian, who put this curriculum together. There's a little quick note to the mother, and it says, if your child is a young 6 and still needs help with these projects before going on to the next level, we recommend starting this book over again. By doing this, your child becomes more familiar and confident with each project and can whiz through the task with ease. And so they're saying to go on once your kid has mastered it, but love the concept of this little curriculum. And then we have the who, what, why. Like, how cute are these little illustrations? This is the box it comes in, and I'm just actually just storing this in my little cart. Again, here are the instructions on how to use this. And then we got this whole stack. So you see the colors tie into what you see on the bottom. So when you're pulling from it, you know what topic or category you're going over. So I don't know if I'm going to just do 2 to 3 or maybe just pull one from each category each week. We'll see. But let me just pull some from each category. So this is the red, so safety and emergency. So this is the picture. And then on the back, you notice sparks coming out of the power outlet. What should you do? Should you try to unplug something or touch the outlet? Who should you tell right away? Why can sparking outlets be dangerous? And etc. So these are the topics that you would talk to your kid about. Let me do another example. There's this, and I think this is a great way too to just show the picture and see what the kids think is happening in this picture and then kind of discuss it. And this is talking about water rising in your house during a flood and some questions you can ask. So this is under the safety and emergency category. This one is feelings and emotions. So I'm so tired, I don't want to do anything. And then the fox is laying on his desk and looks really tired. And then here are the questions you can ask. And then another example. You know, and I'm sure my kids would be like, oh, he's sad, he doesn't have ice cream. And then, of course, the questions and what is actually happening in the picture. So this is for feelings and emotions, social skills. So this would be, you know, the card. And on the back, it is what's happening in this picture, what is the kitten doing, some questions you can ask to go along with it. And then an example of another one. This is the card and some questions to ask along with it, and that is for social skills. Lastly, diversity and inclusion. This one's I look so different, right? Because they're all cats. And then just talking about what's happening in the picture. This one. And the questions. So I love this because sometimes my kids are guilty of just when a store, they might see someone that might be in a wheelchair, etc., and they'll just like start asking questions right in front. So we've been definitely working on like that. You put your hand on my shoulder and we can talk about it in the car. That you treat people kindly, you can smile, you can say hello, and different things like that. So I think this is going to just open such great conversation for that. But yeah, this is the Who, What, Why cards. Everything we're going to be using this fall with my 2 first graders and my pre-K toddler in the mix for social emotional learning, character development, and home economics. I'll have what I can linked in my Amazon storefront and in my shop my. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Amy and Littles, and I'll catch you in the next video.